Well, maybe not. I don't know. How much you weigh, Nick?
Me? I'm 300 right on the dot.
Me too.
Oh, man.
Well done.
Big men in the house. Big
men in the house. And we are
Thank God I'm 6'7", man, because oh my God.
Yeah, right. You can distribute it.
Right.
Yeah, except for the fact I got the good old Irish genetics, so all my weight's in my shoulders and my gut, and then I've got these tiny little skinny legs.
Me too, man. Oh my God, dude. I got the straight up brother calves.
And my calves are still as good as they were when I played football and rugby at the same damn time.
I have to mention this because it was brought up to me that PlayStation Bra endlessly made fun of Lord Cognito's chicken legs, apparently, during E3 2018.
I was there. I can co-sign. I can witness.
That is a brother thing. I don't care how many calf lifts I do. I don't care what it is. We have the thin ankles and the baby calves, and then the tree trunk like quads.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm telling you, it's the weirdest thing, man.
Cog asked me what kind of like squats I do and what if I do any leg lifts. And I was like, yeah, I just do a few basic squats here and there. He's like, yeah, we're not talking right now.
Yeah, I don't know like what my white brothers. I don't know what you guys do. It's like you get like the whole calf thing going. You have like the perfect definition. Then there's like two separate ones. They look like a peach.
They'll be hating.
I'm sitting here like 400 pounds on like the quad on the calves lifts. Nothing.
Welcome to the Fitness Perspective Podcast.
Yeah, right.
Episode 1.
Introduction to calves.
It's leg day, motherfucker. All right. So, welcome to the Gaming Perspective Podcast. This is episode not numbered because it's a special episode. So, don't expect numbers.
We're past our 30s at least.
Yeah, we're into our 30s. We're well into the 30s now.
We're getting old.
Yeah, it's getting up there. We're supposed to have PlayStation Bra on, but I ain't heard anything from him. He said he was going to make it, but I ain't seen him.
He might be writing the Sony right now.
He's probably making like his Titans and just absolutely disappearing.
No, he wasn't feeling the whole reminder that Vita games and PS3 games are going to be dropped next year.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. He wasn't feeling that. It's one of those things where, on the one hand, I get it. Like they have to drop it at some point. They're going to run out of games. On the other hand, I won't disagree with him. It is a little weird dropping how many games from the service and then, oh no price reduction. Yeah, well, we're rolling billions. We're making bank. We're not changing anything.
Yeah.
It's good.
And the only way that works, Sam, is that they bolster it like with other games, but you kind of get that feeling that, is that going to happen? Is it? Who knows, you know?
Well, I saw some people saying like, oh, well, the PS5, they're going to add PS5 games in 2020. I'm like, what? An indie every 3 months? Like, it's going to take time for that library to build up.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to buy your PS5 and get Death Stranding or The Last of Us 2 via PS Plus.
No, come on. Why not?
Because this ain't Game Pass, my boy.
These companies care about us, man.
No, they don't.
No, man.
It's so funny because I had a wager with my friend because of that Game Awards where they got that screenshot of Reggie, Sean Layden, and Phil Spencer on that stage. I'm like, how fast are console warriors gonna meme this? I refreshed my Twitter feed 2 minutes after it happened, and someone had that picture where it's like Phil's in 4K, Sean's in 1080, and I'm like,
360p, and you go,
okay, I'm sorry, but that's legitimately funny. Come on.
Yeah. As Luca would say, not like this.
I saw one as well where it was like Immortal Kombat font. It was like, choose your fighter. Test your might. Choose your fighter. Test your might.
I saw one, and John Layton was like looking disappointed over it at Phil Spencer, and it's and the bottom caption is, "So I hear you're talking to one of our studios."
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Phil Spencer turns and looks at him with these eyes, and he goes, "Yeah, I am. What are you gonna do about it?"
The memes have been glorious. Anytime those three step into the room, it's just It's hilarious.
But it's great.
But a good moment. A good moment.
It's an amazing moment.
It was. It really was. I was glad to see Jeff make that happen.
One of the other great photos that came out of that, I'm not sure if anyone saw it. I think Aaron Greenberg posted it. It's a picture of Sean Layden, Phil Spencer, and Aaron Greenberg together. But the best part of the photo was the fact that both Sean and Aaron looked like they were about 7 whiskey shots into it.
Yeah.
Like Aaron to have the amazing
taking the photo, but he was like looking off far to the left, and Sean looked like he was falling backwards.
It was great. But no, that was very, very much methodical by Jeff to do that.
A hell of a part.
Guys, that knock it off. You know what I'm saying?
That was that set the tone. That was a good way to open. And we are about celebrating gaming here.
Yeah. And contrary to what you guys think, these guys are all pretty cool with each other. So
they hang out. They have drinks together.
Reggie went on stage with all his bodyguards. That was something PlayStation Bra said that at E3, Reggie, Phil was walk the floor a bit, and Sean Layden was on the floor a bit, but Reggie was on the floor, and he had 8 6'10" guys around him at all times.
I ran into them because I shook his hand I think I told you guys at Remedy's booth when I was taking a look at Control, some private footage they had for journalists, and they all waltzed in, and Reggie's surrounded by an army of huge bodyguards, and he's happily shaking everyone's hand, talking with us, but those guys were ready.
All right.
Those guys were ready.
Yeah. So how we're going to do this episode, because there's a lot to unpack from the Game Awards. There was announcements, there was moments that didn't hit, there was moments that hit really well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about, I want to start with the weird stuff. I want to get the weird stuff out of the way, because this Game Awards was really good.
Well, can I just one thing before that, though?
Yeah.
It was too damn long.
Yes, that's one of the things I want to say.
Way too damn long.
Way too long.
I should have had to, I went to bed about halfway through, apparently. I thought,
Oh, yeah.
I
crashed, man. I was 11-ish or so. My time. I was I got to go to bed, man, because I got to be up early. I got to go.
Yeah, I had to be up for 4 a.m. I was like, okay, it's starting at 9. It started at 8:30. We should be good, right? No.
A couple hours, maybe. No, 4 hours.
Too
later.
long. Anyone who complained about XO18 being too long needs to complain about the Game Awards being too long.
Man. Keep that same energy going, people. Come on.
So there was a couple of things. I think what killed me originally was the pre-show. Giving awards out in the pre-show.
Mm-hmm. That didn't make any sense, did it?
Not only did it make any sense. No, let's roll back. It didn't make any sense. And then some of the awards they were giving out would be great main stage awards.
Best action game, best RPG. That's big. That's a big deal.
Go Monster Hunter. Good job, guys.
Good job at not making an RPG and winning RPG of the year.
Yeah, and pre-show awards. Come on, really? Damn.
I sat there and I went, because I've been salty up this whole point. The Kingdom Come Deliverance game didn't get nominated. Now I'm glad it didn't, because it's just a pre-show award apparently. But the fact that we've got you've got Dragon Quest, Ni no Kuni 2, you've got all these amazing JRPGs, and they're nope, Monster Hunter World. I'm like, really, Jeff?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
And also,
it's tough because it is a good. Hang on, Nick. It is a good game, and not only that, we talked about this with Finn or Matt last week. What that game has accomplished has been nothing short of astounding in terms of how they took a handheld franchise and brought it to the West on consoles in a big way. Like that, you do have to give recognition to that.
Yeah, and you know what? Someone has never played Monster Hunter before. I bought the game, and I kind of had expectations where it'd be almost more open world than what it is, instead of a zone hub sort of thing. I ended up being a little disappointed in that, but in the end, I still love the game. I think the aspect is great. I think hunting these giant and cool, unique monsters is just fun in general, and there's no other game out there that really does that. So having something like that to come to console and someone like me to experience it that's new, it's sweet. I love it. I think it kind of deserves it.
Yeah, I just the beginning of the show, and also shout out to the Ubisoft developer that was like, make sure you tune exactly in at this point. And then the Far Cry reveal was like almost an hour later. Like I'm sitting there going, how much did Jeff pay you?
Well, they advertised we're going to start at this time. But wait, it's going to be a half hour later, actually, and it's going to be a pre-show for a half hour before we really start.
The lack of clarification that was a pre-show that sucked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Giving out awards in a pre-show just isn't a good look. It's an awards show, and it devalued the teams that won to me by being like, well, you're a pre-show winner.
Right.
Really? I made the best RPG this year, and I get to be in the pre-show? Are you serious? And, like, if you have all these categories that you can't attack in the main show because you've packed up the show with all these announcements, trailers, and everything else, that don't have those categories. Like, if you didn't have the time to do all the esports categories and you just rush through them in the pre-show, then why'd you have them at all? There's no context to that. Like, when they were talking about the biggest esport event of the year, no one had any context unless you followed all those individual esports.
That was a really weird moment. That was a really weird moment. Like, they rushed through the esports awards, which was already a whatever. But then you don't give any context for what the best moment is, and the rest of us are like, huh? I have no idea. I have no idea what any of this means.
Right.
I'm hearing Tamak and Jalad at Tanagra right now. I need context, please.
And that's kind of like what when Jeff was looking for like feedback or whatever, I said to him, maybe you can do a little bit more with that. Like, you're kind of speeding through like all the awards or whatever. The show is long, and that's the thing. It's like you're speeding through all the awards, but why is the show still that long? It's like you're spending too much time like in between, like, I don't know, like with these like devs or whatever, but maybe just have more industry people doing presenting, and then maybe in those presentations you do it like a traditional award show where you're showing, like they used to do back on the Spike days, the game in question or the games in the category.
Right. Just have it playing in the background.
Right, because not everyone knows.
Background. Right.
Yeah, because not every gamer knows every game that we're talking about, and that way you can also give exposure. People are like, oh, that looks like a cool game. I didn't know about that one.
Well, I think this episode, this time around, it was definitely more about exposure more than anything else, because the Russo brother was on and they presented an award, but that's it, sort of thing. Like, they came presented. We got all your attention just to see potentially what might happen. Nothing happened, and you're might continue watching, sort of thing. Like, they try to fluff it up as much as possible to try to make it as popular as possible, so they might get as many views as possible, so it does better next year, sort of thing. They just it was too much, though. I think they need to cut it down probably by about a third of the content, maybe, and maybe do more major reveals instead of more kind of minor things.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Can I say this, Nick? And then I can let you go. Here's the problem we're going to run into. I'm not saying it wasn't too long, okay? But again, Jeff is trying to balance out a ton of awards, letting people have speeches and heartfelt moments, cool orchestra, awards, ads so that he can keep the lights on this thing on, and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not sure what they could have cut. Can you guys point to me and tell me? I don't mean like 30 seconds here or a minute there. I mean, can you definitively tell me what could have been cut and the show still could have worked?
Well, honestly, the only thing that comes to mind, and which is the worst one in my mind, is like the amount of reveals in the end. But that's about it. I'm probably in the amount of performances, but it was still kind of nice to have those during the Game Awards this time around. It was great to see, but I don't want that to go away either. But in the end, if we were to cut something, that's probably what they would end up cutting.
What I want to see, and this is the thing, this is to me, and keep in mind, I don't represent the 99% of the video game market. I'm a very niche person when it comes to what I want to see from this. When you have someone presenting an award, I want that person to have some relation to that award. Like if you're handing out a award for best direction or best storytelling, get a developer up there that wrote an amazing story.
Get Corey Barlow to present an award for one. Like he could do multiple categories for one.
Well, like
people like him, for example.
If you did for best direction, for example, Get someone like Ken Levine, who did BioShock Infinite, get him up there to present the award. Someone in the industry that someone would look up to.
Yeah.
To hand out the award. And I know that Jeff uses the big names to draw in the casual viewing audience. I get that that's the point. And that moment with, I can't remember the guy's name. He's the guy from Inglourious Bastards.
There's multiple guys from Inglourious.
Christoph Waltz.
Yes, Christoph Waltz. He was hilarious. He was great. I was surprised and I was impressed. The fact that he just trolled the girl he was standing beside the whole time. Christopher Waltz is just stating facts. But the thing is some guests it was just like, oh, okay, I guess. Like the Russo brothers, I kind of went.
Yeah, that was weird. That was the odd egg out, I think, of all of them. In terms of, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of the presenters were just kind of or they didn't match up with the award, but the Russo brothers are there to hand out best multiplayer. Like, it's weird flex, Jeff. Weird flex. That's okay. You're saying you can get them there. Cool. You have pull. That accomplished nothing.
And
aside from getting people to tune in because they thought we were going to see the Avengers game.
Yeah. Or the Avengers 4 trailer, because
that was never reasonable. But
another thing too, and this is a small thing. Once again, I'm nitpicking at this point.
Of course,
Content Creator of the Year were all Fortnite streamers.
Yeah.
We have such a hard time in this community bringing to light people that work hard. There are people that edit and upload daily to YouTube, that work their asses off to get an audience. But the only people we highlighted were that are streamers, and not even YouTubers, just streamers that all stream Fortnite.
Yeah, absolutely.
That says a lot.
That's terrible to me, because there were people there presenting awards that were more applicable to win awards than the people nominated. And that annoys the hell out of me, because, like, I'll say this, and this is a personal thing. They had a YouTuber up there called Jacksepticeye. He did presented the award for, I think it was best voice acting, maybe, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
One of the girls from Twitch, I can't remember her name either. I think it's Pokimane or whatever.
I don't know any of them. I'm proud.
Well, this guy, I've watched his videos for about a year and a half, 2 years. I used to watch a lot of Let's Players, like, through the time, like, when I would go through depressed bits, I used to watch Let's Players because I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't play a lot of games. I would watch Let's Players. I stumbled across this guy's channel. He's always positive. He's always upbeat, and he's always talk about being your best self. And then he started blowing up. He got really big, really fast. He was growing like 2 million subscribers every 2 months or whatever. He's one of the most subscribed gaming channels on YouTube. And he's always talking about being your best self, and he's always being this positive output, and he's always doing charity stuff. He's always doing stuff for sick kids. He's doing all these different things. But never has he been nominated for a content creator award. Like, instead, you're going to give it to Ninja, who has said the N-word on Twitch 7 times.
It's a popularity contest.
And is on stream cussing kids out and getting them banned off of Fortnite. And this is what you're putting forward as a role model for people. And you're saying, when you put someone as content creator of the year, you're saying this person's content represents this whole community. And to me, that puts us backwards, because video games as an art form are being pushed so far forward. And the fact that we keep highlighting people like this keeps pushing the medium back. And that's my problem with it. There are tons of streamers that do amazing work. There are small streamers that do amazing work. You look at people like Jeff Bartram, for example. He's always doing stuff for veterans and everything else. He's a small streamer. But these are people that legitimately are just trying to do good things for people. And I feel like they never get the recognition they get. Like even the fact that Jeff Keighley brought Steven Spohn on for that special recognition for the Game Awards.
That was
this time around.
Yes, that was very good. That was important, and
good.
I applauded. I applauded
because I feel like even Jeff knows giving Boogie that award was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows it.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Even if it was, I mean, Jeff didn't vote on it. Let's specify that again.
No,
Jeff doesn't vote on any of these, but he knew that he had to recognize Steven in some way this year. Yes, and I'm glad he did.
Yeah, and that was a high point for me. Seeing Steven get that recognition and the way they did that really small part in explaining about where he came from and how he got to where he is now is great, because this is what the Game Awards should be about. I don't care about screeching 20-something-year-old guys who scream and yell profanity at a Twitch shooter multiplayer. I care about people that are actually pushing the medium forward. And to me, that's what the Game Awards is about.
Yeah.
Is about people that are pushing the art form forward.
Right. It's like Alden said, like Greg Miller winning. That was a great pick. You know, that was a great vote.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's people like that deserve the recognition. It's hard in the gaming industry and in gaming social media in general. It is hard to get a following being a legitimate person.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to be just a good, decent person and get a following. It requires work. You've got to sweat. You've got to grind. You've got to make content endlessly. It's endless and thankless work for a long time for people that do it legitimately. And people like Greg Miller, Steven Spohn, these guys have worked their asses off to make what they did possible. And people don't seem to even realize with Greg Miller how long it took him to get where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like there should be more focus on those kind of people than the screechy Twitch streamers that bring in an audience. I know that's why they're there, is to bring in an audience.
Yeah.
And that's my only major criticism of the Game Awards as a whole, is that aspect.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. That's fair. I can't really, like I said before, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not too long, but until someone comes up with a better solution, I don't know what to tell you, because I think you guys can disagree. I think the pacing this year was the best it's ever been. I really do.
Pacing was good. It was consistent.
Pacing was good. I'll give it that.
There's no boring bits.
Like, it kept me engaged for almost all almost all 3 hours. It was only towards the end, like the last 20 minutes or so, where I was finally going, okay, Jeff, I'm feeling it. Let's wrap things up here. Let's get a move on. But like the fact that I was able to stay engaged for 2 hours and 40 minutes plus the pre-show, okay, that's good. That's really good, in my opinion. Speaking of wrap it up, I don't know if you guys saw what Jason Schreier tweeted out, but it looks like what the Game Awards did is whenever someone was giving a speech and the speech was getting a little long-winded, they had a message board that said in white lettering, please wrap it up soon. And then if they kept on going for a while after that, it changed to ugly big yellow letters that said, wrap it up. I was like, okay, that's good. That's good. I like that.
Totally wrap it up.
And just to focus more on the positive side of things, because I ragged on it a bit. It's just there's small things that bug me a lot. There's some really great moments in this awards. Probably one of the best moments was the voice actors from God of War.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Read it, boy.
That was beautiful.
And if anyone could pull off a suit like that, it would be him.
That was some suit. That was some suit.
Like, can we get that suit as a DLC for Kratos since you guys won game? I mean, like, there was a God of War game where you could get a costume and be a cow, so like it wouldn't be off kilter for them to have.
Good point. Definitely wouldn't.
That was a really good high point because it really seeing the voice actors behind one of your favorite games like that. Yeah, it's such a cool aspect of it.
And that's the kind of people you want to have on your show too. Like I think that's the kind of people you want to have presenting your awards. That's the kind of people you want to have you want to be having interviews with, sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's what makes a Game Awards.
Another high point for me is seeing the guy who I'm terrible with names. I apologize to everyone. The voice actor behind Arthur Morgan, and how genuinely just happy he seemed to be there.
Yeah.
And he was just like overwhelmed by the whole thing. It's just so cool to see people. It was the same thing with
he did such a good job.
The girl from Hellblade.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, when Melina Jurgen, when she won for
when
Hellblade.
She won, just the pure look of I won.
And you know, much like Melina winning in 2017. No disrespect to the other nominees at all, because they all deserve to be nominated. But I am glad that Roger won, because as anyone who has played a good bit of Red Dead knows, his performance of Arthur Morgan wins you over. It's not the dumb, brutish, stereotypical, 30s white guy performance it appears to be. It's very subtle. It reveals a man ahead of his time slowly. But you get these ideas of doubt, but he still believes in Dutch. But it's incredible. There's so much nuance to it.
That makes you fall in love with the character unwillingly.
Exactly. So, yeah, hats off to him for winning that. A lot of the awards, much like the way they were treated, frankly, I don't think we really need to spend a lot of time on, because they were kind of, it's okay. It is what it is,
sort of thing.
Do you guys want to talk about the game of the year first, or the announcements, or Nick, what was your idea?
The one thing that, before we jump into the whole game of the year thing, everything else, the one thing I want to say is that in the voice acting category, I do not think at any point we have seen such a high grade of talent all in 1 year. Like Yuri Lowenthal for Peter Parker and Marvel Spider-Man is absolutely insane. Roger Clark for Arthur Morgan, Melissa Thanthe Mahout as Cassandra for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Christopher Judge as Kratos, and Brian Deckard as Connor in Detroit Become Human. Those are all one-of-a-kind voice acting experiences. And going into this was the one category where I had no idea who was going to win.
Yeah.
Because all of those performances, like last year with Hellblade, I was like, this is a slam dunk. It's 100% going to be her. It's the best performance we've seen.
It's incredible.
And this year, it was just like, this is such all the categories for the most part were hyper competitive because there were so many good games and performances.
Yeah, and you can also see that like it's expanding out into other talent now, because I mean before it was like Laura Bailey, Nolan North kind of holding it down, and
what's his name? Joel, the guy who voices Troy Baker. It was like they were the golden trio, really. It was those three holding it down, and that's not to insult anybody else. It's just they're the ones holding it down, and now we're seeing a crop of fresh talent all over the place. That's fantastic.
So now we go into, and this is why I want to segue into this, because one of the most competitive categories this year for me was Game of the Year. Going into this, we knew it was between God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Personally, I want to see Assassin's Creed Odyssey win just to watch the whole internet meltdown.
Or Celeste.
Oh, if Celeste had won, people would be like, okay, it's for mental illness. We can kind of get. But if Assassin's Creed Odyssey won, if Ubisoft won Game of the Year,
Everyone would be like, "Oh, come
on!" you would see Xbox fanboys and PlayStation amazing. But I wanted to say this, and I'm going to get everyone's thoughts on God of War winning Game of the Year.
With the Italian hands going. It's getting serious, guys.
It's getting
God
real.
of War deserves Game of the Year, and I truly believe that it did outdo Red Dead Redemption 2. And the reason I say this is it's not because God of War is a better game than Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I'm only 2 chapters in, so I know there's a lot. I'm missing a whole ton. But the way you can unpack God of War as a game and how much emotional context you can pull out of that game in the amount of time you play it, how polished it is, everything else, everything has a purpose, every side, except for the endless grind at the end. If you chose to do that. I chose not to. I just followed the storyline and I had a blast.
I'm still a New Game Plus.
It really wasn't that. It wasn't that bad though.
It wasn't too bad.
In the grand scheme of what grinds can be, it wasn't like.
I'm a Destiny player. I can complain.
Right.
But the thing is God of War was such a wild card because it's a continuation of a game, but in all respects, it's a new game. It was rebuilt from the ground up. It was built off a vision that Cory Barlog and Sony Santa Monica had, and they built it into this massive game, and they completely changed how God of War is as a franchise now. They evolved a game that they didn't even initially create. Everyone always forgets this, is Cory took over God of War. David Jaffe technically started God of War. And to be able to take someone else's creation, build it into your own, and then to craft it into something completely new. And to be able to give a one-sided character like Kratos so much depth. And having so much story packed into such a tight amount of time. Whereas Red Dead's more like an epic. It's an amazing story stretched out across 60 to 100 hours of game. And that doesn't detract from how good Red Dead is, but it says more for what Cory and his team did with the time they had with that game. And what they did with that time was absolutely amazing. The way they developed it, and the fact that, keeping in mind too, and this is a big thing for me too, is the amount of people that worked on God of War versus how many people worked on Red Dead Redemption 2. I know it doesn't directly play into it, but what they did with God of War detail-wise is just below what they did with Red Dead Redemption 2, except Sony Santa Monica didn't have 3,000 developers working on it. Someone took a screenshot of the Red Dead Redemption 2 credits, and there is someone whose whole department was horse hoof prints. There was a guy who did horse hoof prints on ground detail for a whole development cycle.
Down to the details. The little things count.
The little things count.
The little things count.
And at the end of the day, God of War won because it's an easier to consume product in a whole. Someone can sit down, play God of War in 25 hours, conclude the story, and go, wow.
Not just
an experience.
But I think, honestly, God of War had the advantage of compacting a bigger emotional impact in a shorter time frame in comparison to Red Dead Redemption 2. So you get like a bigger overall emotional roller coaster in a shorter period of time in comparison to Red Dead Redemption 2, which allows you, with Red Dead Redemption 2, is more of an open world game, which allows you to do more of it at your own pace. In God of War, you can only go at your own pace for a certain amount of time before you kind of, forced to redirect into the main story to continue on. So, I think that really also played a good effect into the reason why it became a Game of the Year winner.
I want to hear Sam said that he loved God of War, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is his game of the year. So I really want to get Sam's thoughts on it.
Hey,
here's the thing. When I say that, you need to have a little bit of context because it's only by a hair. Okay, it's not like there's a gulf. It's not like there's a percentage in quality. It's like Red Dead is balancing right on top of it. And the reason that it did, and at the end of the day, that Red Dead is my game of the year, was not just the detail in the world and the capabilities and the advanced systems that Rockstar has. It's like, okay, maybe the controls are janky with it, but no one else has even attempted to implement something like this. But it was the journey and the fact that they convinced me to love Arthur Morgan, a character who I was sure I'd hate, and I was mad we weren't playing as John Marston when I first learned about it, and I thought he was going to be a bland nobody, and then made me fall in love with this character, and then see this heartbreak and see Dutch, his mental health falling and seeing things hold apart and knowing that disaster is right around the next corner. But as long as Arthur keeps on enduring, he can hold things together. It's like he's straining by chapters. He's straining to hold on to everything and to just keep moving forward. And it makes you then, when you see the epilogue, and I still don't want to spoil it because it's a massive game, but then you see the epilogue and you see what happened, and then you understand why the original game comes to be and whose actions and whose betrayals and whose loyalties shaped the events. And it made me love. Can you say universe for two games? I'm going to say universe. So screw anyone who says I can't. It made me love the original all the more. Seeing the effort poured in, because it's like, this can't be for nothing. This work can't be for nothing.
The epilogue says
so. That's why Red Dead was my game of the year. But with that spiel in mind, God of War, I'm okay with it winning at the Game Awards. I really am.
Of course.
Because anyone who's heard me talk about it before, whether on Twitter or here, knows that prior to Red Dead, it was my second favorite game this generation. Okay, I love God of War. I love the vision that Corey and his team put into it. I love the heartfelt moments. I love, and I'm actually writing about, by the way, right now, how it tackles ideas of masculinity. And not with a big sledgehammer saying, no, evil, toxic, wrong, but gently proposes like, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea. Hey, this has consequence. Action has consequence. Inaction has consequence. But there's aspects of masculinity that you need. You have to be a warrior. You have to be a father to your son. And it made me question things about myself that it's like, I'm not even a father. I don't have a kid. But it made me think about, wait, well, what would I do? Well, how would I handle this? Well, how do I feel? It made me feel things that it shouldn't be capable of making me feel. And the combat is fantastic, and the story and the cinematic shot all the way through. And yes, as Eric knows, the fact that they gave me what I wanted and I got to see Kratos beaten up in the first hour, all that. Come on, he had it coming. We all know he had it coming. It was long overdue. All that came together, and it's like, yeah, you know what? Hats off to you, Corey. Hats off to you, Sony Santa Monica. I'm fine with you winning Game of the Year.
That's did a damn good
A-okay.
job.
You made a really good point there with Kratos getting his ass kicked in the first hour. Every point in God of War where I started to want something, it magically always seemed to appear.
Yes, that is a very good point.
In the first hour, I was like, because I wanted, when you and me talked about this game pre-release, I remember when we first started talking, because we started talking in February. So we started talking about God of War, and we were like, man, it'd be so cool to watch Kratos get his ass kicked by one of the Norse gods, because this isn't Greece anymore, boy. This is you're in a new, and like to see him get beaten up by the son of a god, or like he's basically like a lowling. Like you look up in Norse mythology and he's pretty low on the totem pole. He's basically the Norse punching bag.
And not only that, but what it does with the lore and how it reinforces aspects of Norse mythology, but also twists them in unfamiliar ways. And it's like, ooh, you're not going to see that coming. You know, fantastic. It's going to be a long time before we see a sequel, but I can't wait already.
Which sucks because I wish there'd be a sequel like next year.
Yeah.
such a good series, like the way it is now, and the way they make God of War. I wish they were like those from the start, almost, because it's just that damn good sort of
thing. I'm still hoping for a surprise like DLC announcement.
That would be. I would love that.
Unfortunately, Eric, I think it's sort of like. It's the thing about, like, with The Witcher 3, you had Hearts of Stone drop a few months later, and then Blood and Wine a year later.
And then like The Witcher 3 size DC.
Well, hang on, Jared. Hang on. I'm making a point. And then like with Horizon Zero Dawn, you had the Frozen Wilds dropping 9 months later, 8 months later. Some it was November or December, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
it's like I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think the ship on DLC has sailed. At this point, I think it's like if it wasn't going to happen end of this year, beginning of next year, it probably ain't going to happen.
I just want to roll it back to because there was a point I was trying to make when anytime you want something in God of War, it eventually happened, and the ceiling point for that for me was when Atreus went down and you had to go to hell.
Yes.
Or it wasn't called hell, but
no, it is. It's literally called hell. It's Helheim.
Helheim, sorry.
Helheim.
And you go back to the house and you get the blades out. And I had the dumbest grin on my face the first 5 minutes of using those because the axe was so well done. But after a few hours, I was kind of like, I need something. Give me something. And then they gave me those. And I was like, oh. And then them having different enemy variants so that you had to switch between the axe and the blade so you couldn't just stick to one.
Yeah. It's like once you have both of them, you could just unleash like combos that were just like...
And the combos are seamless. They're seamless. It's easy to learn. Yeah. Absolutely.
Shout out to Suni Legend who makes that game look so amazing on a regular basis.
Kidding. He does that all through PS4 for Share Factory, hey?
What's that?
Yeah, I believe he does it through the Share Factory.
All of it through Share Factory, yeah.
I'm like 90% certain. If he doesn't, someone is free to correct us. I'm pretty sure he does.
Definitely.
I'm actually going to add him later because I'm curious. Because if he's doing that through Share Factory, he is a wizard.
That's why it's very impressive to see what he does with that because you go, damn, you made that through the PS4? Microsoft, what the hell you doing, man? Come on.
If he makes that through PS4 Share, like the only thing I ever see through PS4 Share is like some decent screenshots and YouTube videos of guys breathing too heavily into their mic.
I actually haven't seen it, so if you guys have link me to it later. I want to see what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, see what he says.
Yeah.
But do you guys want to dive into, because I think that sums up the awards. Do you guys want to dive into a couple of the announcements we saw, a couple of the ones we didn't see for some reason?
Okay, so let's do the ones that weren't there. And I'm going to do a little jig here because I was right. No. Everyone was wrong.
Oh my God.
Fuck you. Borderlands 3 is not coming.
It's secretly Rage 2, people. Come on. Don't you see it?
No, I'm so sick of this. Every time there's a game event, literally, if Major Nelson scratches his back, they're like, Borderlands 3. I'm like, shut up. No, nobody cares about that game anymore.
What if it's Last of Us 2 release date?
Okay, that's yang annoying too, but not to...
That's a separate annoyance.
Gearbox cares so little about your Borderlands 3 release. They released Borderlands 2 for the PSVR. That's how much they care about your Borderlands 3. No, Borderlands 3 isn't there. All the people that were screaming about, oh, we're getting Metroid, you're dumb too.
Yeah, you ain't getting the much.
I'm getting some angry DMs over that. Someone's gonna clip that and send that to people.
It all sounds believable before you get to the show.
No. Yeah, well, it also no. Here's the thing. I was one of the people who thought Metroid would probably show up. Not Metroid Prime 4. I'm talking about Metroid Prime Trilogy.
Yeah,
there were leaked listings. Like, this is a very weird situation where a lot of people who are always right have said that game exists. So that one is weird. That one's really weird. maybe it got yoinked because Nintendo's going to do a direct in January or February.
I'm surprised because when that came out, it was during the GameCube era. Like, it was still shortly after Metroid Prime 3 came over, whether the Dark Echoes one, whatever it is. And like, I actually have the GameCube version of the Metroid Prime trilogy downstairs somewhere. I have it in this house because I love the series and I love the game. But I was like, I found it a little out of place to have a game from back then be ported to the Switch, but would it actually have to have been remastered in order for it to have happened, sort of thing, or would they just port it over in like 360p, 400p quality?
Look. The thing is,
I think they'd remaster. It'd be remastered.
The thing
that would be nice.
The Game Awards was a really good event, and that trailer that Jeff Keighley did was amazing for it. But if you ever tease me with Sam Fisher again, Jeff, I will find you.
I told you guys. I warned you. I said, don't hope. Don't hope. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. I will believe that.
He responded. Someone criticized him and went, "Why did you have Splinter Cell in that trailer?" And he's like, "Oh, well, the Ghost Recon DLC came out this year, so I put it in there as a small little nod to it."
Nah, fam.
That ain't cool.
That ain't gonna work for us.
I will believe a new Splinter Cell game exists when it is announced in front of me. When it happens.
I'm not doing this anymore.
No, I'm not either, Eric. I'm done. I don't.
So, any of you insiders want to jump out there? Oh, Splinter Cell's coming. You're getting cursed out.
Yeah, just wait for you three people. That's what we got to do every year, right?
Ball pit ain't going to be popping until Splinter Cell comes to the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It's going to get the HD collection.
Seriously. And Borderlands 3, like, at this point, does anyone care?
No.
Really?
We've got like Rage 2 coming. Wwho cares about Borderlands anymore?
Speaking of which, that story trailer, Rage 2 just looks amazing.
Sweet.
And it's coming out in May. May works really well for Bethesda's like single player games, like the smaller ones from the Bethesda published ones. Yeah, May 14th. May 14th. Yeah,
let's be
that's
honest.
Perfect.
They need a win. They need a win right now.
Yeah, and they need a win. They need to build their PR back up, and Rage 2 looks like an excellent starting point to start. Like,
I can really see the PR starting to ramp up in the new year for that game. Like, if they do a 2.5 month, 3 month sort of advertisement ramp up towards it, I think they could sell a lot of copies. Just the way that they're already presenting that game as is for the trailers and stuff, and the theme and the feel that they have going for it, it could really appeal to, I think, a wider audience than usual.
My understanding, and I'll put Ivan's #insider bit on the front of this. My understanding is Rage 2 is basically they're going to try and market this going forward as your Borderlands replacement.
Good.
Well, the Outer Worlds is about to be our Fallout replacement.
Yes, we're going to get to Outer Worlds because that is something I'm really impressed with.
That's gold, I think.
So Rage 2 is going to be amazing. Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing really quick, Nick?
Yeah, because I'm going to go on a tangent. So go.
Please, yeah, I'll say this. I listened to you and Eric. You're talking about Bethesda. Oh no, what is you doing? Your Fallout 76 video. Great video, YouTube. That was fantastic. Listening to it, one of the better discussions that I've heard. But you made a very interesting point, Nick, where you said the biggest issue Bethesda has had is that they haven't had direct competition to the kind of RPG that they are doing.
Yep.
Well.
Yeah, that's it.
Obsidian's like, allow us to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
The thing is,
oh man,
the thing is with Outer Worlds, and I am feeling so validated right now because I was the first one saying Microsoft was going to buy Obsidian. The thing is, Ivan was the first one that said Microsoft should buy Obsidian, and Cal and Ivan have been on that train for 3 years. I was the first one that said it was going to happen. I posted 15 minutes after Clobriel, sneaky little squirrel, son of a. that Obsidian was going to be purchased by Microsoft. And everyone went, oh, well, Obsidian only makes crappy, low-budget RPGs. Who cares? And now these same guys are like, oh, man, this Outer Worlds game looks really dope. I'm like,
surprise.
I told you.
Yeah.
Do not doubt Obsidian. And the fact, and they stress this at the Game Awards too, the original creators of Fallout made this game. People are forgetting, and what people always do is everyone in this community always focuses on the name. They go, oh, Sony's making this, or I need an example. Oh, Naughty Dog's making this.
Or so EA's making Anthem, but it's actually BioWare, but they're
no, that's a different situation.
That's the same thing. Shut up.
No, it really isn't.
No. See, BioWare doesn't have any of the original people that made the great BioWare games anymore.
But we're good on Anthem. They're making it. EA's just publishing it, but people are acting like EA's making it, and you go, no, they're not. This be BioWare.
BioWare isn't alive to me again until they make RPGs again.
We got Dragon Age 4 teaser. Come on, we got the Dragon Age teaser coming out. The Game Awards here. They're working on it. Have faith. Have faith.
My faith with BioWare died with Mass Effect. It died with the facial animations.
Sorry, Jared.
My heart is broken.
Defeated. The thing is people alone. Everyone associates with studios. Naughty Dog's amazing. Sony Santa Monica's amazing. These are all amazing studios. But what makes these studios amazing are the creative minds that work at these studios. And what people don't realize is over the years, people leave those studios. And when people were like, oh, Fallout 4 doesn't really feel like Fallout anymore. It kind of feels like a dummied down version. Yeah, because a lot of the people that worked on the original Fallout 3 are gone because you had Fallout 3, then Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas, and then there's a gap between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. And a lot of people left between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. And this is the thing with Obsidian is they've recruited some of the best CRPG developers on the market. They've got the lead creators of Fallout, and these are the original Fallout games. I know no one's played these that's listening, most likely, and I don't think anyone on this panel's probably played any of the original Fallout games.
No, haven't. No, haven't.
They are clunky. They're
rough.
They are rough mechanically, but the storytelling and RPG elements are insane. And seeing those elements and those in the teaser trailer they did for the Game Awards and then the gameplay demo they posted afterwards, seeing all those old school RPG elements, like seeing a conversation and then seeing you have like 6 options again in just a normal NPC conversation feels so good.
Yeah. And they've confirmed. I don't know if you guys read the summary that I posted of some information Game Informer and PC Gamer got, because they were two websites that were invited to visit Obsidian. But basically, you're going to be able to play as like a stupid character if you set your intelligence to 0. It completely alters all your options and things. You can annoy your companions so much that they'll leave, and you have to go convince them to come back. It's all the only negative I saw is they said there's not going to be any romances or anything like that in the game, which I like that kind of thing. Well, but it's not a big deal. It's not a deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker.
Romances is, I think that's just part of the whole, Obsidian's kind of made the same kind of games that they made Fallout New Vegas, so they make the RPGs in that kind of vein. I don't think in any Obsidian RPG or even a Bethesda RPG there's really ever been love interest romances that you can do. Like Skyrim, you can argue that you can get married, but it's not really a complicated storyline.
Yeah, I'm like I said,
Vegas.
No, there was not. No. There was nothing in New
Vegas.
There was
Fisto.
all right.
There was that.
Moving on.
But and they've also said there's going to be things like your character can develop phobias. Like if you get burned a lot, if you take fire damage over and over and over, the game will say, hey, would you like to develop a fear of fire? Fire will now do more damage to you, but you get some instant perks. And it's like, that's cool. I like those kinds of mechanics. It's like an old school RPG. It's like Fallout New Vegas brought into a modern sci-fi setting. Yep. And I like that. And sure, like, it's still kind of on a budget, despite being an RPG. Like, let's be honest, the character models don't look the best. They don't. They're okay. They're serviceable. But if this is an idea of what Obsidian is going to be able to do with the private division, which is sort of like between AA, AAA, imagine what they're going to do once this game is out.
Yeah.
Under Microsoft.
And you know what? I think it was a good time to show that game too. Just because of all the backlash and all the negativity that's been surrounding the launch and Fallout 76, right?
Mm-hmm. This was shit perfect. On that.
Yeah, and now they see this and they go, you know what? This is exactly what I've been asking for, and I can't wait for this to come out. I'm going to hold off until this game comes out, and as soon as this game comes out, I'm going to be playing it nonstop because that's going to be the new game that they're going to want to play. And you know what? That's going to recruit a lot of loyal fans at the start for the game, which is what they're going to need.
The thing
which is good,
is that everyone forgets, and people forget this a lot. Fallout New Vegas was probably one of the rougher Fallouts performance-wise.
No, it was the roughest, no question.
Yeah.
It was rougher performance-wise. The character models weren't that great. But the storytelling was fantastic. And they made some of the best DLC story information that I have ever seen. And why I say that is that Obsidian's only Fallout game they ever made was Fallout New Vegas. And they made DLC that tied in with stories from other Fallout games that filled in blanks about people you heard of or knew about in previous Fallout titles. Mm-hmm. And they made the DLC matter. And I still think that we need single-player games can have DLC as long as they matter. And I really hope that people take to Outer Worlds because it looks amazing. And I hope people give it the support that the Fallout franchise has gotten. And I hope it's a smash hit because I want the biggest thing with these Microsoft Studio acquisitions is there's been so many of them. I feel like sometimes some of the studios get lost in the mix. And I want Outer Worlds to be that moment where they're like, we made this on our own money. Look at what we can do. And I want people to take notice of how good Obsidian is. Because I hated having to sit through all these fanboys and go, oh, well, they just Kickstarter games. They're not even a good games development company. And then they drop this, and all those dudes are like, this game looks pretty dope. I guess Obsidian's a good studio.
Yeah, can I also call out the people who had no idea who they were, but now like, oh, snap, Microsoft got Obsidian. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, right? Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Come on.
You guys know how I react to that. You guys know how I handle that. When as soon as someone was like, IO Interactive might be bought by Microsoft, I was like, oh, hell no. There's going to be a bunch of fake Hitman fans now.
Yeah, don't you start. You were not a Hitman fan. You know, I'm sorry, Eric. It reminds me of what Colin Moriarty says about the Dreamcast, where he's like, I'm sorry, but I'm sick and tired of you. You know what? He's like, every single one of you says, oh, I had a Dreamcast. I was a Dreamcast guy. No, if you all were Dreamcast guys, Dreamcast wouldn't have gone the way it did. Knock it off.
Right. Exactly. But you know how I felt too. I was the same one with Ninja Theory. I'm like, oh, now you're all paying attention to Ninja Theory?
Now they're an incredible team. Or conversely, now they're garbage that can never compare to Sony. Like, knock it off.
Exactly.
Stop. I gotta say with Ninja Theory, because I didn't really know Ninja Theory before Hellblade. I was on the train once Hellblade came out. Mm-hmm. So I will be one of those garbage people that I was pretty excited. Just
garbage.
Garbage people. In the bushes you go.
I enjoyed that one game, and I was like, this is a smart acquisition just off that one game.
They've been brilliant for a while.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And I the problem is there's all these studios that made all these great games during time periods when I was just a FPS dude bro shooter.
Hey, you admit it. That's the thing. You admit it. That's okay.
The thing is I will admit that most of my 360 gaming generation was spent on Halo and Call of Duty and playing competitive ranked.
Hey, me too. That's okay.
And the first game that made me start wanting to dive deeper into video games was Skyrim. That made me go, wow, I'm actually having a lot of fun just playing on my own. Now I start looking at other games and diving deeper more, and now I'm where I'm at with games. But oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I like that, Sam. I like that. So we got to transition to something that none of the insiders.
Well. Before we transition, can Eric give his thoughts on the Outer Worlds? Because you didn't really get a chance to actually talk about the game, Eric.
Oh, okay.
Like what
Eric,
you thought about it.
Sorry.
Oh Lord. No, I saw that. I was like, this is giving me the vibes that I need. What I want to see from Obsidian. I was like, this looks like, you know, I mean, I'm not a Fallout person, but I can respect the DNA. But I was like, but you want to cook a dish that has like, you know, BioShock and Fallout kind of mixed in there together. Like, I'm down. Let's go.
It really looks like Fallout New Vegas, but in space with a little bit of BioShock, like a space western with that crazy Rapture DNA. And it's like, that's good. That's a good mix.
Yeah, it has everything that gets Eric's attention.
Eric likes that. Eric is not getting upset.
Eric's like, this looks like one of those good Bethesda games.
Hey, Eric, I like it.
Hey, the reason I'm always like willing to like kind of dunk on the whole Bethesda stuff, like I said, I don't go on the timelines and diss Fallout 76. I'm not a Fallout player. Sam knows my dog in the fight is assholes ignore all the other stuff that's awesome.
Oh, that's my fight too. Dude, it depresses me. See,
right.
No, you don't pretend you like single player games. Dishonored 2 is probably the most brilliantly constructed game of all time, and no one's played it.
Yep. Travesty. So if I'm walking by the desk,
like you and Eric talk about how much of a travesty it is that Dishonored and Prey are like unrated games this generation.
Arcane is incredible. They know what they're doing. Like,
why are you trying to get Sam going, man? Come on.
Because we've had this discussion, man. It's just like, yeah. So yeah. If I walk by the desk and I see what's going on with this game, I'm like, oh, you can keep working here. Continue. That's how I look at it. So when they debuted that, I was like, right on. Keep doing that. Let me see more later. Not too much. Like we talk about all the time. Not too much.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I'm down.
Yeah, man. Like it only bodes well for the future of Microsoft Studios too, because it shows what they can do.
Yeah.
I'll just wait to see what they can do for an exclusive IP that they'll make for Microsoft.
The last thing I'll say about this is I'm very interested in seeing what happens with the Outer Worlds if this game is a success. Because if it's not, they'll clearly just move on to a new IP under Microsoft. Yeah. That's what will happen. But if it is a success, is this going to be like a reverse Mass Effect where Microsoft's like, okay, 2K, let's have those publishing rights. Here's a cool $1 million or $2 million. Just hand them over. Yeah. Or is that, how is that going to work? Because if it's I'm saying if it's like a big hit, if it's a big hit, they can't ignore it, can they? But if 2K holds the publishing rights, but Microsoft isn't going to want a new game to be multiplayer, like I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing how that shakes out.
Right.
So,
yeah. The only thing I'm looking forward to in Outer Worlds is being able to go, I'm a space cowboy, baby. Ridiculously amount of times.
I'm just going to be making as many Firefly jokes as I can.
Oh, my God. No, please don't.
Hell, I mean, in a lot of ways, we talked about Rage 2, but, I mean, you got 2 games that are not Borderlands 3 that are Borderlands 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because there looks like there's a little bit of that in there, too.
In the foot if they actually want to do that at some point.
So who dropped the whole rumor about Borderlands 3?
Some website.
No idea.
Oh, okay.
What's his face? The guy at Gearbox. He's the one who started it in the first place. Randy, because he was like,
how many people learn by now don't listen to Randy?
I know, dude. I know, and I said that, but he was like, I went to the gym 3 times and I did this 3 times. Maybe the universe is telling me something about the number 3. I'm like, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it.
I don't even know why I'm asking either, because like B is always the one that says to us like, people need to learn. Stop listening to Randy. He constantly lies to you.
Yeah.
You know. It messes with your head. So,
yeah. Gearbox is in the bushes.
They are. They are.
A couple other rumors that didn't happen.
B just said,
there was not a Duke Nukem game. That was a rumor on Reset Era. There was going to be a Duke Nukem reveal. Don't know why.
Who said that?
Who believes that? I forget who said that. Who believes that? You got played.
But one thing that did show up.
Yes.
Ed Boon, shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, who tweeted after the Mortal Kombat 11 reveal, of course we're working on a Mortal Kombat game. What do you think we were doing? A Superman game?
Yeah.
So Mortal Kombat 11, I don't like fighting games, but god damn, do they know how to make a fighting game that looks good for people like me?
Is this where you're a casual?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Mortal Kombat X just got onto Game Pass. You want to play that, the newest one?
Yeah,
give it a shot. I want to play it, actually.
I bought Mortal Kombat X day one because what I love about Mortal Kombat is it's one of those games me and my buddy who are terrible at fighting games can sit down and play, and we're like, oh, look at this cool thing we did. How'd you do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I know there's a science to it. There's a whole science
I always
to
said
fighting games.
Mortal Kombat is good for that because it definitely feeds into people who are a little bit more casual. It's the game where a girlfriend and a boyfriend can sit down and he's just getting dominated because he's trying to do all his special moves that he knows, and she's just like wailing on the buttons. He's like,
damn, hitting one button. Just hit one button.
Jab.
Let me fix that, because in today's age it could be reversed. It could be the girlfriend trying to do all her special moves, and the boyfriend's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm kicking your ass.
My girl would probably kick my ass so badly. Not gonna lie.
My favorite thing to do in Mortal Kombat when it first came out, they fixed it. The uppercut used to be really fast and it would do 18% of your health. I used to play Scorpion and I'd crouch uppercut my friend into a corner.
Oh man!
And just sit there and just crouch uppercut him as Scorpion. And it was just like the most annoying spam that you could do. Terrible.
Yeah.
So fun.
So Mortal Kombat 11. This is a quick turnaround, to say the least. Being announced at the Game Awards, and it's coming out not even 5 months later. It's coming out in April. That's can we honestly say that's probably the quickest turnaround from reveal to release a AAA game has had in the last few years?
It is the quickest turnaround, but what I want to point out is that something that Ed Boon and his team are phenomenal at is they don't do stupid lead around marketing. It's a Mortal Kombat game. This shit will sell itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I say that as someone who isn't super interested in it. It'll be fine.
All they do is literally they sit down, they develop the game. Once it hits the final stages, it seems where they're like, yeah, this is pretty close to being done. Let's reveal it now. Because nobody needs a 2-year hype cycle for Mortal Kombat. Hell, we don't need a 2-year hype cycle for most games.
It's
okay?
True. Like, hey, we're releasing it next month. Look at this. Sweet.
Like, the one thing, because Mortal Kombat 11, it's great to see it. It's great to see Mortal Kombat's back. The one thing I want to talk about is we went through a Game Awards and there was no Kojima. There was no Death Stranding.
I was actually going to ask you guys because, like I said, I went to sleep, but when I got up, I was kind of scrolling through Twitter. I was like, no Kojima.
What happened?
No Kojima. There were jokes, and I half believed that Kojima was going to rappel down from the ceiling and grab Jeff and scoop him back up and ascend into the heavens.
Fresh trimmed haircut he's got on. And
No Kojima. And for the last time, those games are not coming in 2019.
Nope.
Knock it off. It's getting really, really old.
Thank you.
Stop.
You can really tell.
People said Norman Reedus says the game is coming in 2019. Norman Reedus, God bless him, is a TV actor. He's used to doing TV and movie show turnarounds. He has 3 motion capture, things to go through. I can't even talk right now. He has 3 sessions of mocap to do. Motion capture is one of the first things you do before you start working on the animations. This game ain't coming anytime soon.
It was obvious when you could see the guy walking, Norman Reedus walking in the one trailer, and you go, "That's
He looked like he should have been wearing a pair of lederhosen.
He looked like he had something up his butt, man. Like he was walking with his. He was stiff, all right. Like it just didn't look right. You could tell it was like heavily, like the movement animation wasn't there. The aesthetic animation was. They just made it look good enough and work enough for there to be a trailer for him to move in properly, sort of thing. And you just go, like, that's
look, the thing is, and what people need to stop doing is they need to stop. We're going to wrap the podcast on this. The thing that's annoying me the most right now is overzealous fans trying to set deadlines when developers aren't setting deadlines.
Yes.
It was so annoying to me watching websites like Push Square and DualShockers going, oh, Naughty Dog's reminiscing about the Last of Us 2 reveal at PSX 2016. So that means it's releasing in 2019. And we're going to get a reveal at the Game Awards because they're talking about a great moment they had.
Yeah, it's reaching.
The reach is so far away.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous, man.
It's getting annoying, and it's getting to the point where like Naughty Dog and Druckmann had to come out and go, guys, we're gonna be there, but we're not showing you anything. Like, it would be hypocritical at best. And this is the reason I knew Death Stranding wasn't going to show a trailer. This is why I knew Last of Us 2 wasn't going to get a trailer. Sean Layden told you guys 2 months ago that he canceled PSX because they had nothing new to show you.
Exactly.
They're not going to show you something new at an event where PSX was supposed to happen
a couple months before.
Like, are you brain dead? Like, if they had a show of Death Stranding, The Last of Us 2, if they had all this good stuff that they were supposedly going to show off at the Game Awards, they would have had PSX.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I cannot stress that enough. I get it. People are excited for these games, but these developers don't have a release date on this, so you guys can't beat them to death on social media with that date. Well, and then get riled up and send them threats when they have to delay it because they can't make deadline. This is to reduce crunch in the industry. If you don't like not having a deadline, stop pressuring developers on Twitter and social media about but I did Last of Us 2 in 2019. No, you freaking don't. If Druckmann feels like he needs to push it to 2020 so that his team doesn't have to work Rockstar hours, good for him.
Yeah,
well said.
This game is going to be amazing when it comes out, and the key word is when it comes out.
Thank you. I was just going to quickly throw out, there's a good example of where Gears 5, we know it's coming out in 2019 because at E3, we saw that it was the year 2019. It was on the trailer. It was there, presented with the game. With none of these PlayStation titles, we don't even have that. It doesn't say a year. It just gives us a trailer. It doesn't give us an estimate. As far as we know, it could be 2020, 2021. They could push it as far back as they want to make sure it's as good and ready as they want it to be. And so the reason that they didn't have a year on it is so they don't get fans worked up into a frenzy over when it might actually release and then get potentially disappointed for a delay for quality control.
Yeah, so, look at the time frame when developers stopped giving us release dates and release times. It was just after No Man's Sky, where they delayed it for a month or two, and fans literally took to Reddit saying we should go hang Sean Murray from a tree, to when it launched to we really need to go hang Sean Murray from a tree, to Uncharted 4 being delayed. What was it, 3 weeks?
Yeah,
it was pushed back from late April to early May. Yeah, they needed 2 weeks.
They did 2 weeks, and fans were like, "That's not good enough." And this isn't. And the thing is, I know it seems like I'm knocking PlayStation fans for this. I'm not. It's just No Man's Sky and Uncharted 4 were back to back, perfect examples of what the fuck is going on with social media gaming.
Yeah,
because the fact that developers don't feel comfortable giving release windows, nonetheless release dates anymore, is very telling to me.
because they don't want to have foam frenzied fans at their throats for it because they feel entitled to it.
You see third-party developers still use release dates and everything else, but first parties don't. Why aren't first-party studios using release dates anymore? Is it because they have overzealous, rabid fan bases?
Basically.
Because that's when the war comes in. We can't lose the war.
Yeah.
And
it's stupid. And for me, the Game Awards was great in the aspect that it showed off so many great aspects. There was parts that showed off the shitty aspect of video games as a whole. But watching Corey win Game of the Year and the absolute shocked look on his face when he made the walk up for that award. And just, that's what these guys spend hours of their day doing. There's people that spend 60, 70 hours a day working their tails off to make games with characters we care about. And they want to please their fan base and make something they can be proud of. All developers do this. Something that Jared brought up in our group DM is someone said Anthem has no soul. And this whole thing of AAA games don't have any passion. They're just conveyor belt robotic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend of mine who worked on Call of Duty post-university. He graduated for his games development and got a job with Activision and ended up working on Call of Duty for a year. He loved developing that Call of Duty. He loved going into work every day and getting to work on it. He worked his tail off to make that the best that he could. And he took pride when that launched. He said one of the happiest days of his life so far as a 25-year-old is that Call of Duty launch and getting fan reactions and feedback and everything else. There's people behind these games, and the Game Awards does a great job in highlighting the people behind these video games. And to me, I think we lose sight of that a lot. And I think we need more people like Jeff Keighley who are showing what the industry actually is and educating people on the people that work on these games.
And that's a good note to end on, Nick, if you don't mind me saying something like, I understand it's not perfect, and it's never going to be perfect, but Jeff spends his life, literally his life, pouring effort into two things: the Coliseum, the E3 Coliseum event, ever since that started a couple of years ago, and the other 6 months are to the Game Awards. He's pouring himself into this, and he truly, legitimately is doing his best to balance things out and make it happen so that everyone involved with this incredible industry can be recognized. And even if we always get something cringy, even if we always get ridiculous meme-worthy material, you know what? In an age where Me Too has become a thing, and we've seen the ugliness going on in Hollywood, and we see ugliness in the world right now, is it not worth recognizing one man trying to bring happiness and positive reinforcement into one particular aspect of our lives that we all at least say we love?
Right.
I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe I'm off kilter here, but that's where I stand.
No, Sam, you know what? I want to actually, add on to that too, because it is true what you're saying. Like, people give, guys like Jeff, guys like Greg, in our little circles, they give them crap because they feel like, they're biased. They feel like they're, they lean towards one particular thing. And let's be honest, there's nothing wrong with them doing that. People kind of put them on this thing where it's like, because they're media, you have to be fair and make me feel good about what I purchase. No, they're not obligated to do that.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they're gamers, But if you look at guys like Greg, and I'm using them as an example, Greg, Jeff, Ryan McCaffrey, whatever, right? If you stop and really think about what they talk about and how they go about it, they actually celebrate gaming in a way that a lot of us don't. A lot of us are very snarky. A lot of us always kind of look at more, sometimes we tend to skew more to the negative and jump on and do whatever.
Sure.
I've seen these guys kind of operate, and most of them kind of find like the silver lining in some of the negative spots. and ultimately bring more celebration to and more awareness to gaming than, most do in just a regular community.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Absolutely.
So so it's like, cut the guy some slack, like just because they don't always say what you want to hear or rub your shoulders, you shouldn't need someone to validate your happiness in gaming.
We should just be happy that they're here.
Enjoy what you want.
Honestly.
Like I said, Red Dead is my game of the year, but I shed a tear when I saw Corey and his team go up on stage and Christopher Judge picked, I don't remember the kid's name, I'm sorry, but he picked the kid up who voices Atreus and he spun him around. And it's like, yes, that kind of thing matters. Or the students who got their award at the Norse University for, making their first game. And you could tell that they were terrified. But that's going to mean the world to them when they go back to their dorms.
Right.
It's like, these things matter. It's easy to be sarcastic. I have to do it as part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth celebrating the nice, positive things. And it's warm. It's sappy. It's probably a little too positive. But you know what? Everything else is way too negative. So who cares?
Right. Let's take the moment to have a celebration. We're supposed to be celebrating. It's like we can always pull the snark out of everything and try to take the piss out of everything, but it's like, it's not an easy feat to put on a show like this.
Yeah, exactly.
With the production level that he's putting it on, he's not doing some chintzy little,
It was honestly this year. It was good. The production level was really good. I was impressed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And also, just to wrap up, because we didn't have time to touch on it, but shout out to Greg Miller and his whole crew at Kind of putting on that game show today.
The Kind of Funny game showcase today,
yeah, showing off. Like, they didn't have huge bombs or anything like that, but there was developers that never get any shine that got to show off their games today.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you know what that was born out of? Greg basically said, there was no PSX. The hell with it. We'll do our own thing.
Yeah, we'll do our own one. And Greg has also said, sorry, I can't do it twice in the span of 6 months. But he said developers are already hitting him up and saying, please, Sony isn't doing E3. Can you do something like this again? And that matters. Like, it's funny. Don't get me wrong. It's funny to us, and I'll laugh at it. But that matters because, there are some indie developers who are terrified. Oh, no. The biggest console manufacturer isn't going to be there. How am I going to get a tiny booth spot where people are going to be drawn in? Are there even going to be people coming now? Like, so
I watched
shows that it matters.
Of the stream today, like I watched a little bit of the show, and it was nothing but little very very minor indie game showcases, but they were still kind of pretty decent. They all looked a little interesting, so it's nice to see them get a little bit of spotlight that they probably potentially need to get that success out.
Yeah, and like it really has to be noted. Like when Greg Miller left IGN, correct me if I'm wrong on that, please. When Greg Miller split from Colin Moriarty and those two went their separate ways, I didn't really pay that much attention to what Greg was doing as a whole. But in the past few weeks with the Kind of Funny game show and some of the other things he's been doing, I've been paying more attention. And the amount of effort that man puts in, the fact he does a daily podcast and covers any news, and this whole thing where Greg Miller's a PlayStation guy, so we can't like him if you like. This dude loves gaming so much and does so much for developers and everything else. And like, this dude literally did a Bender from Futurama. Oh, you're not going to put on PSX? I'm going to make my own PSX with hookers and blackjack. This man deserves all the credit in the world because there's nobody else on the internet that would be insane enough to tackle that.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
And that speaks volumes for how much of a game fan Greg Miller is by putting that show together. I watched that showcase back. I am a fan of his work now. He has made a fan out of me despite prior things that made me not a huge fan of him. He has grown so substantially as a person. And
30,000 viewers on stream, by the way. Sorry, I just wanted to throw in here, but almost 30,000 peak viewers on the stream today, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. It's great he got that support. So all around, an amazing week for video games as a whole. And shout out to that indie game that's going to be a moving game that's like Overcooked. I see you. I see you games trying to mimic.
I see you, game. I see you, game.
I forgot you liked Overcooked.
I see you. I don't know your name, but I'm going to buy you.
Buy the shit out of you.
I'm gonna buy the shit out of you. What the name of the game is? All I know is it was like they're like it's like Overcooked, but with moving, and it's like it's a co-op game. All I see is these two guys with a couch trying to dodge traffic and then jump onto a pirate ship with a couch. I'm like, sold.
I still want Shriek Mart, where it's you and the goat, and you have to yell to turn.
Oh my god! We need, you know what we need? Next gen will not be complete till we get Goat Simulator 2.
Oh, it's probably going to happen. It's going to be
better.
The most ridiculously awful thing ever. And it's going to sell like crazy.
We're ending this podcast because Jared just disrespected Goat Simulator.
Uh-oh. Hey, spoke facts, brother. Spoke facts, whether you like it or not.
And the final note of this podcast, the highlight and the best part of the Game Awards was Stanley Parabola coming to console and then being like, and we, in 2013, we won many prestigious awards for our story.
Did you say Stanley Parabola?
Yeah.
He said Stanley Parabola.
That's the garbage man that was Stanley Parabola. Hey, Mr. Parabola, how's it going?
I laughed so hard when they're like, in 2013, we won many awards for our, and then it cuts to different cutaways, and they're like, the best story this year is The Last of Us, The Last of Us, The Last of Us, and there was like, well, okay, maybe not. That was an awesome moment.
Yeah,
shout out to everyone that tuned into the show today. It's been absolutely amazing the past 2-3 weeks for support.
Love you, beauties. Love you, beauties.
We were going through a little bit of a downturn, and all of a sudden, all these people are tuning into our show. I just want to say how much it means to me when you guys come by on a Saturday night and spend time talking video games with us. And even for those people that can't tune into this show live because of prior arrangements or anything, but listen back to us later. I appreciate all of you and the support that you give us. And it's so big to us when we get the support that we've been getting, because we really want to give you guys video game information with fun and everything else, but without the bullshit that goes with it. And that's this podcast goal, and I could not be more proud of how this podcast has come together across our 30-something episodes. And I cannot wait to see what's going forward into 2019 is going to be for this podcast. And with that in mind, we're going to have our own little thing next week. Next Saturday, we're going to have the Gaming Perspective 2018 Game Awards.
Oh, we are. I mean, we are. Yes, we are.
Yes, I don't tell these guys anything.
No, that's not a joke. He doesn't tell us anything.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't tell you. So how this is going to work, this is going to be funny, because I'm going to make up a bunch of categories tomorrow. And what we're going to do is I'm going to make up the categories. There's going to be some really serious ones and some really funny ones. And what I'm going to do is we're going to have the panels vote, but I'm also going to throw out a bunch of Twitter polls on the Gaming Perspective Twitter. Mm-hmm. And you guys get to vote on what you think should win that category. I'll come up with the nominations and everything else. It's fine.
So we're basically going to have like here's the fan vote and here's what our vote was type compared. Okay, that's fun. That's fun. Gaming. Yeah, that's fun. We can do that.
All the details will be to these guys on Sunday, and then it'll all go public on Monday. Another thing too, tune into the Multiverse show on Monday. My favorite episode of the year is this week.
And Ivan is going to be insufferable. A warning. He's already trying to make #SpideyZero Awards a thing. Okay, you have been warned.
No.
He's already in.
Really?
Let's just roll back to the fact that this man thinks that Sea of Thieves is going to get into the Game of the Year discussion. We're not having none of this nonsense.
It's going to be lit, Eric. Eric, do your best to tune in. This episode is going to be lit.
It's going to be terrible.
If Sam says tune in, you better tune in because it's going to be good.
Oh, man. Yeah, so we'll do outros. I've got a couple of things to announce at the end, but we'll do outros first. Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Talbert. We're also going. You can also. I'm sorry, I'm brain dead right now, guys. You can find what I write on tickgamesnetwork.com. We're obviously in wind down mode. Like most of the news that has dropped in 2018 has dropped at this point. So we're in wind down mode so everyone can spend time with their families over the holidays and whatnot. We do still have some really cool original content and a couple of reviews coming. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's not like the feed's going to be dead. We have some stuff coming.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of stuff coming, actually. There's a lot of stuff I've got in the works, a lot of amazing stuff Sam's got in the works. So Jared's got a couple of reviews and some other great stuff. Just because it's Christmas does not mean the whip that Sam hits us all with over at the Tick Games Network is going to get any lighter.
I've removed a couple of the glass shards.
Oh, thanks.
One or two.
Everyone says I'm the slave driver at the website. Jared, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at RageRage_X or as well at TickGamesNetwork.com.
Perfect. And Mr. Eric Jackson?
Yeah, you can find me when I'm not here. Find me Wednesday nights on Brat Podcast, Wednesdays at 9 o'clock.
Perfect. I guess I'm Nicholas Downey. I can't even use the Undead 3 XVI thing. It just doesn't flow anymore. The going legit was probably one of the weirdest things I've ever done because I feel like I've got two different personas now. I feel like I need a luchador mask when I use my gamer tag now. So you can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI, of course. And don't forget to follow me for basically anything. I tweet random stuff. I tweet garbage stuff. I tweet the spiciest of takes. I tweet random insider stuff that I should not know. I just tweet garbage. So follow me on Twitter for that. I write articles for the Inner Circle Game Network. I'm also the head of the affiliate program. You can check out all the great podcasts we have: Four Guys with Cores, NLG Show, The Multiverse Show, The Gaming Perspective, and of course our Redacted podcast, which will be announced later in 2019. So don't worry, I've still got the Infinity Gauntlet somewhere around here. But we will catch you guys next week on the podcast. So get your party hats on and get good and drunk because the Gaming Perspective Awards are going to be lit. We will catch you guys all next week.